Good evening, everybody. Welcome in, compirates. All right, it's been what, hour and a half since the movie let out, and we've refrained from talking about it at all since we got out of the theater, other than just like a nod of like, that was good. So this is the raw, unfiltered first impressions from first viewing of Shin Ultraman subbed version in the theater. As you can see from the text, we're going to begin in spoiler-free mode, and then at some point, the safety is going to come off, the fun switch is going to be engaged, and we will talk about all of the spoilers. Oh yeah, let's see, I switched out my avatar. I threw this together real quick because I wanted to talk about this. Hang on, let me make sure chat can overlay the avatars here. There we go. There we go. And yep, Minna is here with me. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, hello, hello. Yo, baby's here too.
Chat box up here. Welcome, Jay, Glavson, Riv. Good evening, everybody. And how is the sound coming through? It looks good in OBS. With us sharing the mic, are you able to hear?
Testing, testing.
Ironically, the hardest thing to set up in OBS is two people collabing that are actually sharing the same space with each other. That's why I don't have reactive foogies, because both of us would just bobble up and down whenever any one of us talked, unless I had you mic'd up separately in another room, which wouldn't be nearly as much fun.
Nah. We gotta look into each other's eyes with, like, spark and the madness of movie talking. We communicate through grunts.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do.
Alright, so this movie, Shinji Higuchi's Shin Ultraman, Hideaki Anno was executive producer on it. This movie is unapologetically, aggressively what it wants to be and what the creators wanted it to be.
We'd love to see it.
Like, this movie's like, you know, Ultraman had weird experimental camera angles. We're going to do some of those. And the audience might be like, oh, that's all well and good, but isn't this a few too many weird camera angles and cuts and jumps? And the movie's like, screw you, just for that.
Honestly,
have some more weird camera angles. Have some shots from, like,
so many cool shots.
The actor in the foreground's, like, crook of his elbow onto the subject who is talking.
The one where it's like she's got a remote and it's like her thumb. It's like they put the camera on the end of the remote that she was holding. So, her thumb looks giant. Oh, honestly, it made me think more of Shin Godzilla.
They did a shot like that in Shin Godzilla as well. I think it was iPhone 13 or iPhone 12 that they shot some of the footage on, because they could just like stick it on anything and anywhere to get.
It felt very much Shin Godzilla meets Shin Ultraman.
I mean,
that's exactly what it was.
Higuchi and Hideaki Anno worked on both. I'm sure we'll see more in Shin Kamen Rider.
Oh, that's gonna be fun. Now you've got to get me into that one.
Oh, well, we got the whole manga volume around here somewhere, which I think is faster than watching the original show. But I don't know. I'd rewatch Black Sun.
They need to put it on Webtoon, then I'll definitely read it. The format is there. It's just so easy.
I don't like reading right to left or left to right. I want to read top to bottom. Or if they do it unflipped from the original Japanese, you read from bottom to top. Because the phones scroll differently there.
Interesting.
But so not only is it aggressively unapologetically itself, it's aggressively and unapologetically Showa era Ultraman. If you're familiar with, especially original Ultraman, like all of like the weird physics or like the way things moved back then, because they were using like a static like sculpture for flying or whatnot, like that's recreated here. Like there's some shots that it's just like, wow, they just straight up recreated the look with modern special effects. And it's, oh yeah, so actually this is entirely stream of consciousness, so I'm just going to jump around from topic to topic as it comes up. But
I'll jump in as I need.
The special effects work, like this.
I like that it was uncanny.
CGI absolutely has a place in filmmaking, and I think like things like Mad Max Fury Road and like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy are good examples of using CGI, using photorealistic CGI in a good way to like do cool effects work and stuff. This is an example of how to use CGI like, I don't want to say like a practical effect because it doesn't look practical at all, but it's like,
but it's the same feel.
Yeah, they used CGI to create CGI props that are obviously textured and shaded and stylized the way props are. And it's really fun to watch because your brain's you're not trying to fight your brain telling you like, oh, it looks kind of real, but I know it's CGI, so I know it's not real, but it's still trying to look photorealistic. So now I'm just like, oh man, CGI. It's like, no, this is CGI. It's weird. It knows it's weird. It's banking on the fact.
But also, these are weird monsters. Like, they're from outer space. Why do we expect them to like mesh exactly with the textures of our world?
Exactly. Like it was used. They made a specific artistic choice with the CGI, and it's a wonderfully uncanny effect for representing aliens and kaiju.
And you can do some like really cool things with CGI that you can't really do with suits and all different angles and things like that.
Yeah, they're absolutely. This was something Godzilla versus Kong did as well when I had them fight underwater. It was like, all right, we're not using rubber suits, so we're gonna do all of the shots and set pieces and action that you can't really accomplish with
what was it? Dune did really well with CGI, where like they. Oh no, what was it about Dune? Like, was it that in the CGI they did shots that could have been done if it was real?
There were a couple of good things there. They used brown screen instead of green screen to help with the lighting. They used like for the ornithopter shots, they used helicopters and then pasted the ornithopters over them so the rotor wash looked realistic.
Mm-hmm.
But the the effects work was just a lot of fun and showed you that you can have fun with CGI and use it for more than just trying to look realistic. And it had a really good uncanny looking effect, and it was, I love me some Suitmation. I've got the entire Showa series of Ultraman on Blu-ray Steelbook sitting on my shelf, so I'm a fan of the rubber monster suits. And so when I was like, oh, they're doing it all CG, I'm like, all right, that'll be interesting to see, and it's really cool.
Some really cool designs. There were some really, really cool. Like, let's see.
So I won't spoiler in this place. I won't spoiler which monsters show up, but they're all very interesting takes. Some more straight up than others. Something really fun they did, which they lampshade in the film, is back in the day, suits are expensive props, and you don't want it to just be like a one and done investment for your studio. So they would repurpose suits that they had made either by just like repainting them, adding some extra details, selling them to another production studio for their show. There's a famously like the first monster in Ultra Q and one of the monsters in an early episode of Ultraman are modified Godzilla suits. And so they did that with the CGI models here, where they have a CGI monster show up, and the prologue is one monster, and then just like in the show, how that monster suit got repurposed into another one in Ultraman, they repurpose the CGI models and redesign them into the other monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Although from a little behind the scenes thing I saw where they talked about this, they said it didn't actually save us that much time and effort. Like redesigning it into something else was still an intensive piece of work.
The prologue does go by pretty quick, so like unless you're looking for it, it's kind of, I don't know, it's hard for me at least trying to like read the subtitles and keep up with the visuals sometimes.
I almost want to watch it. Well, if the dub's good, I'd watch a dub. I definitely, if the dub's no good, I want to watch it Japanese language, no subtitles.
Oh,
just so that
maybe the next time we should do it that.
Just there's not the dub's showing tomorrow night. I don't have any plans. But yeah, being able to see it without the visual distraction of the subtitles at the bottom, because if you've seen Shin Godzilla, it does a lot of the Shin Godzilla thing where it's showing a lot of Japanese text on the screen, which then means they're then showing a lot of subtitles on screen, now you have two sets of text popping up on screen rapidly.
Plus all the like stuff in the background.
And none of it's like critical information. It's more like almost like a form of visual humor to make fun of the bureaucratic goings on.
This is why I felt like Shin
Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Yeah.
There's definitely some comments in there that were like, "Wow, that moved quickly for the government." Or there's
Definitely
some
some
really
political satire going on.
very, very funny.
So
Once we're into the spoilers, I'll mention the one like exchange line that I think was one of my favorite like political moments. There's quite a few.
If you don't like current Japanese foreign policy satire, you may be annoyed by some lines, but if it's about the same level of commentary as Shin Godzilla was by comparison. Funny how that works.
I know, it was really funny.
B Calcom, good evening. Chuche, oh, you're painting up 15 mil, Flames of War, awesome. 15 millimeter, good scale. Soren, good evening.
Oh, it was so good. Oh, and we made a bet when we were going into the theater. Were you betting higher or lower than me as far as how many people would be in there?
I thought we were going to be like maybe the only 2 people in the theater.
I bet there's going to be at least 3 other people. And I would say there's probably like 10 other people in there.
Let's see. There were the 3 dudes sitting in front of us, the 2 girls in front of them,
There's
the
a
dude
family
behind
that
us.
was like at least 3 or 4 girls that came in later.
Kind of those ones. So there's maybe like a dozen of us, including ourselves, in the theater.
On a Wednesday night.
Which is bad for a Wednesday night, one night only showing. I don't even know how widely advertised this was, too. Like, I heard about it, but that's
it was
because
so
I'm
cute,
like,
the things at the beginning where since it's the
Ultraman
Fatima, since it was the Fatima,
69mega.com. Enjoy the banhammer. Already have the girl I need, as you can see right here.
They had like a cute little like, well, but one we walked in and it was there was like trivia. They had this little trivia bit going on, and it was cute because the guy would be like, oh, you know, who was such and such, and like these are the options. And it's like, okay, let's watch the clip to find out, and they'd show a clip from something instead of just like answering it, which I thought was really fun.
Oh yeah, that was good marketing on Subaru's part for future Ultraman stuff. It's weird hearing them speak in English though.
Yeah, it's weird hearing them speak, period. In all the like, because we're up to Ace.
We've been jumping around, but yeah, Ace is as far as we've watched. You count Tiga.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw much of Tiga. Which one was that one?
I don't think you've watched any of Tiga with me.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so it's all the old stuff, and like I'm used to them just stoically turning. And like not much talking. Like there's a little bit of talking, but like not nearly as much dialogue as like the clips from other stuff. But that, and they had the interview with how do you say his name?
Shinji Higuchi.
Which was I love it because he was like, oh yeah, like, you know, it came out, and you know the Japanese audience, they just sit there quietly and politely and listen, and it made me kind of sad because it's like, do you guys even like it? But then go to America and they're laughing at the first line, and it, you know, that made him happy. So he's like, I hope the audience will laugh, you know, enjoy the movie. You know, the little interview that plays beforehand.
So
it was cute.
I was chuckling internally at that because I've seen a couple movies in Japanese theaters with Japanese audiences, and it's exactly like he describes. Like, it's a very polite movie watching atmosphere. Like, no one's gonna talk and interrupt your movie, but there's also like, and then at the end, everyone's just gonna quietly get up and leave. Like, we enjoyed that movie, and you know, it's very quiet. But I can see as a filmmaker, like, wanting to be like, "Come on, you guys, are you feeling it? Are you enjoying the
Feeling
movie?"
it now, Mr.
I can't
Krabs.
tell.
Yeah.
There's a happy medium between that and, you know, U.S. audiences flipping out over ape stuff. But yes, I was like, all right, we'll cheer for you.
Yeah. I was definitely giggling. Which was the part? There's one part I was like giggling a bunch at.
The one character's catchphrase.
Oh, I think. Villain character.
Or maybe
right?
that was me. I was laughing at
that. That was a really great bit that ran during his, you know, presence. There's something else. It was probably the girl.
Oh no, there's a lot of good moments.
Good humor
throughout.
Definitely not like it's not like comedy, but there's very good humor.
No, yeah, like that was the problem with
Oh
Ultraman
yeah.
Earth was one that they made in the 90s for a film festival, I think it was, that was trying to
I mean
be a
that
like
was
lighthearted comedic Ultraman, and
I
it
mean it was
was, but
funny, but it was they had like one sort of bit going, which was fun, but that was kind of it, you know.
yeah, they're like they turned to the overacting way up to ham it up.
Yeah, it was basically an Ultraman episode where everyone was like kind of just extra goofy and overdramatic with like yeah, they're not even so much their actions, but just the way they're like talking and presenting themselves. And I mean, it was fun and silly, but it was I don't know. I guess it felt like something made for a film festival, where it's just kind of like, oh, this is kind of fun.
Yeah, I think
I mean, it wasn't
it'd be
bad,
fun to
but
watch with a group of people, but I mean, as far as plot and silliness goes, like there are far more absurd premises and episodes in
I
like
can't even remember what the
actual
plot was.
Ultraman.
That's how like I don't know.
There was
Again,
a monster that wanted to eat all the gold on Earth to gain energy from it, and
so,
Ultraman's Earth was afraid he would lose his powers if he became dirty.
oh yeah.
So I mean, that's like mid tier on the absurd
Yeah,
Ultraman
yeah.
plot level of
Yeah, like I don't
ridiculousness.
even remember. Like it didn't stick in my mind particularly. So anyway,
No, there's some good comedy throughout, but oh, but no, you wanted to talk about, so back to the CGI and the uncanniness of it. I'll give you the floor there.
let's see. Let's see. I think I said most of my main thoughts. Um, yeah, there's like, yeah, I like that it was like you could tell it was CGI, but it's like, oh, that's the accepted thing. I don't know, like in the same way where it's like in a like fantasy novel or something where it's like you set the expectation or the rules within that world or the expectation, and even if it's kind of out there or weird or like not not like photorealistic kind of CGI, like they established the vibe and went for it, and then your brain's good at accepting that. um Really cool designs.
So that's what I like, was my brain never fully accepted it.
Well, like well, accepted it as like, oh, this isn't like, oh, this isn't pulling me out of the movie because this is like part of the atmosphere.
Yeah, the uncanniness
Is
was intentional.
yeah, yeah,
It worked really well at being like these.
yeah. Because
You're not
I
from
don't have the
around here,
same
are
I
ya?
don't have the same problem you do where it's like the photorealism part of your brain's like, but that's not actually real. They're not actually in danger. I don't know. I've never noticed that affecting me as much. I don't know. You might want to explain it better since I don't know if I explained it properly.
Just you start to recognize, so a lot of CGI artists, like, at the same time, like there's certain textures that look good. There's certain textures that look good in CGI, so they tend to get used a lot. As you start to pick up on those, then you start to notice them, and like also like if things don't move the right way, your brain's really good at picking up on motion. And so like there's a lot of CGI creations that are obviously CGI, but they're still trying to go for the photorealistic look, and then you just feel like you're watching like a weird, I don't know, it's like a hollow feeling, like what you're looking at. Like it neither, like it's on a technical level, it's like technically, yeah, Marvel movies do this real bad, like where you can start to feel like you're watching not live action with cool special effects. You start to feel like you're watching a CGI cartoon that occasionally has human faces pasted into it.
Like these
So,
people
like,
are just dancing around in a green room.
exactly, like something that even though Shin Godzilla, they went with the CGI model over the suit that they built, the way Shin Godzilla moves really sells you on its physical presence.
I do, yeah. Shin Godzilla, I think, is probably one of the best Godzilla movies at like feeling just how enormous and weird like this giant lizard is.
And Shin Ultraman is almost the opposite, where like they don't move. Like, they have all the like
They
weird...
feel they probably did that because when you've got like a little set and then the guys in suits on it, like they're gonna move.
Yeah,
How we like
it didn't even feel like that though. So like, because like in Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time, there's a moment where the two Evas are fighting, and just like the way they animated it, it looks like it doesn't look like it's really funny because it's with CGI, so they could do this however they wanted. So I know it's an intentional decision, but there's two Avas fighting in a city, and they don't make it look like two Avas fighting in a city. They make it look like two Avas that are human sized fighting on a set. Like the way everything moves. So my point is, if they're trying to recreate the Showa effect of two guys fighting on a stage, they could have, because Kara has done it before. This felt to me less like that and more like there was like an ethereal, almost like a weightlessness to some of the movements, which is normally what gives away that it's CGI, but they're already giving the game away, so it just contributes to the like
it's like kind of like a CGI uncanny valley effect, but like it's intentional and fits the mood. It did give like, when you have the people on the ground and you get that like, the people on the ground looking up at Ultraman, which would be kind of hard to do with practical effects, but works well with the CGI, and you get a really good like scale and idea of like, he's a big guy,
40-meter tall silver humanoid. So that was well done.
How much longer can we keep the spoilers at bay?
Let's see. Speaking generally, let's see. It covers it hits on Ultraman themes well. It handles so here's without getting the spoilers, I can say it. So it does this well. So you will see a lot of familiar faces as far as kaiju goes, but they're not just recreating those episodes. Oh yeah, so the pacing's interesting. Someone else described it as like a short season of Ultraman, and I'm like, yes, but no. So it's kind of episodic in nature, the way it moves from point to point, but it's like the writers were like, okay, we want to kind of redo some of these popular episodes of Ultraman with our own twist, but we know we're only doing these episodes, and we know that we're doing them all in a length of time it takes to do a movie. Therefore, we're going to use them as ingredients, but we're going to mix them up with our own plotline that is reminiscent of original Ultraman, but is more laser focused in on a couple specific themes, and then it recycles those episodes and reworks them in support of those themes, which I thought was a really good way to do. Well, it's not a reboot, but also not just a. It was
Santa Claus is Coming to Town, but Ultraman. Because they were like, I can't remember. We'd have to go back and watch the first Ultraman episode to like see how they established the lore. But I feel like this one took all the little details about Ultraman, and made a story. In the story, explained it like, here's this, or here's why. It's why he can't fight for long, or I feel like it fleshed out all the little details about Ultraman. So I feel like that's approachable to a new viewer.
Oh, I should try and drag someone to another showing and just be like, here, what do you think of this?
You should. That'd be fun.
Yeah, so it's a good if you're a writer, watch this movie to understand how you can rework existing fan favorite material in a way that serves your story in your movie and is not just pandering to fans.
Yeah, because like I can't remember exactly the episodes that they're recreating or taking inspiration from, because it's like, this was their story, that all they made it their story and made it all work. Like it didn't feel like they were like, hey, you guys remember this, you guys remember this. It felt like, hey, this is our story. It was good.
And it does something else it did well, because it reuses a lot of the original sound effects.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was cool.
I wasn't paying too much attention. They might have kept it in mono audio too.
Oh yeah. The prologue, however they filmed it, even through most of the rest of the movie, I'm not good with like I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but I feel like especially the prologue felt like close to what it felt like watching like the
Ultra Q.
I don't know, however they filmed it to camera stuff, however they approached it, didn't feel like a super sharp, like I don't know, it didn't feel like modern cinematography.
No,
it didn't feel like a Marvel movie. like cinematography or whatever wise.
This movie is like
Very
the anti-Marvel movie. Like,
so many cool shots.
Put this up there with Dread, with great superhero movies when you don't want a Marvel movie. What was I talking about?
Sound effects.
Right. So it uses a lot of the original sound effects and will score a good effect, but it also knows when to introduce new stuff. Really, a lot of this movie was spent, I would be going like, okay, I see that they're doing this, that's cool. I really wish they would do this at some point in the movie though. And then, sure enough, at the perfect moment, they're like, oh, we thought we were using too much old recycled music. Well, we made a banging track just for this movie. Here it is right now at the moment of maximum impact. And I was like, all right. I'll shut up, movie. You know what you're doing. But yeah, it's like there's the pacing is kind of weird because it'll be like
you told me that like think of it in like episodes, because then that it felt right. Like it felt like, okay, here's this beat, this beat. It didn't feel like it felt like that made sense that way.
Yeah, treat it. Yeah, it's treading an interesting line between a feature-length film and also being like, all right, this is your one shot to do Ultraman. It all felt
very cohesive and stuff, but it wasn't like, it didn't feel like super linear of like, and it goes up and now it goes like peaking down. It had like little bump, right? It's the big bump.
Yeah, I feel like there definitely is a changing point about the time the third fight happens. So about, I don't know, a third of the way. Yeah, basically, like,
big fight scene.
Yeah, I'd say like Act 1. It's not meandering, but like Act 1 happens, and you're like, okay, Act 1 was pretty good, and then like Act 2 happens, and then it's like, then the plot beats keep coming all the way up until the end. So it's a really interestingly paced film, but I think it works in the end, and it's not as long as Shin Godzilla, which I love Shin Godzilla, but it's like
falling asleep.
Maybe, but I'm not gonna take that as indicative of its quality.
Just I fell asleep the first
just because, like, I don't know, I always like fall asleep during the last half hour of Miyazaki movies when I rewatch those, and I love those. But
in case people couldn't hear me, the plotting to me felt like, okay, there is kind of the establishing, like, not quite backstory all the way, but kind of establishing the setup. Then it's like, okay, plot bump, big bump, the end.
I'll finish off the milkshake. I lost my train of thought again.
Choo-choo.
Back here.
Let's see.
Right, the pacing. Oh, right, yeah, it's not as long as Shin Godzilla. I'm not actually sure what I would cut from Shin Godzilla to make it shorter, but the last half hour on the rewatch drags a little bit, but it's also really cool. So, oh, hang on, I hear Go Baby. Muting for a minute. Actually, now that I think about it, like, the ending in some ways feels like the last half hour of Shin Godzilla. If they were like, yeah, that was a little too long, let's find a way to accelerate it by like cutting out a bunch of stuff.
Well, Shin Godzilla 2, maybe the point of it being long is the satire that everything takes forever. So like they had to have all the meetings, so that's why it's so long. Oh, but I'm gonna it's been a minute. We should rewatch it sometime. Any way to do a watch along stream with that?
I mean, you can do a watch along stream with any movie. You just I gotta figure out how to actually put a little countdown timer in OBS that starts at the same time as the movie. Let's see, what else can we talk about without spoiling anything? We covered the effects. We covered the plotting. Themes. The main theme of the film that it handles well is it handles Ultraman as a kind of Christ figure well, without like actually trying to go so far as to be like Ultraman is God. So I'm glad it avoids that while still being like You know, like, hey, look, it's this union of this higher being and man able to serve as a mediator, as well as acting out of self-sacrificing love, which is then turned to be humanity's defining trait, which was
I feel
cool.
like it was like it felt more like speaking to. I mean, because like that's what humans were made for, and so I feel like it's speaking to the truth of human nature, and it doesn't even need to like go into anything about religion because it's speaking to the truth of human nature of your creatures that are made to love, and love is putting others above yourself in like self-sacrificing love.
And as more and more,
And that's I feel like so many sci-fi things like that's the thing that makes humans different. Like this, similar where it's like these tiny little creatures out on this planet, but like they've got something about them that makes them special, and it's that I don't know that I feel like a lot of sci-fi things do that where it's like that uniqueness of human, like what makes a human a human. I feel like this handled it very well.
And as the various aliens show up, it serves as an examination of like what is the point of mankind and what is mankind's place in this large cosmos where almost everything else is more powerful.
We really need to go spoiler free, or not spoiler free. I want to talk about spoilers. All these little comments.
It's almost anti-Lovecraftian in that sense, where it's positive. It's like, all right, sure, let's say all of that stuff is out there that dwarfs mankind. What is there a point to mankind?
Oh, it handles that like there's things I want to say.
Which was also something the original series all examined as well. So, well, let's see. We've been going for
I feel like
at
we
least
can
half
go.
an hour.
I think we can go.
No spoiler mode yet. So we'll give chat a minute. All right, chat. We're gonna go spoiler mode soon. So, I don't want all of chat to leave now, but I also am like, if you haven't seen it yet, I would go in spoiler free.
And then come back and watch the VOD.
And then come back and watch the VOD.
Well, because like we're basically doing what we would have done in the car, except that we saved it so we could make content out of it and share the love.
Perils of streaming.
So if chat wants to leave.
All right, Lung74125 _. We'll be here to listen.
Okay.
But I'll advise here. Let me change this a little early too, so anyone watching the VOD can also see when we're about to change.
It's definitely worth I don't know. If you had spoilers to it, you'd still enjoy it though, I think.
Yeah, but like I had some of the monsters spoiled by promotional stuff, and I'm like, man, I didn't want to know that guy was in there.
Yeah. Engaged. Spoiler mode on.
All right, so if you're watching this later, we'll give you a little bit of time to run over to your computer or phone, or to rip out your headphones and swallow them. Before we
you can always post
we can always stamp this later.
It's out of
once
spoilers,
yeah.
once in and out.
VCalcom, thank you for stopping by. If you haven't seen the movie, tomorrow night, Fathom Events is still showing the dubbed version, which Sunglass Princess on Twitter, I think, saw the dubbed version because her theater didn't have the subbed version and said the dub wasn't bad. So if you're still looking to see it in the theaters, theaters around you may have a showing tomorrow night around 7 p.m.-ish through Fathom Events.
It's a pretty cool program, that Fathom Event thing.
This channel is not sponsored by Fathom Events, but Fathom Events, if you're listening, we could be.
You. What was it? The Roman holiday or something, like they're showing that in theaters soon. I love when they do all the Ghibli stuff, or they're doing like an opera or something. Anyway, so when talking about themes, and what's the guy's name that is given the thumb drive?
I don't remember Defense Force team names in this one,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Well, I think he's like a computer smart guy.
I don't want to say that's a weak point of the film, but definitely don't get to know them as well as you do over an entire series, and so they are relying more on their like.
I'm bad at names anyway. I feel like they had pretty good personalities though. I feel like all their personalities were fairly distinct. So even if I mean, I'm bad at names anyway. I kind of give up names, like trying to even attempt to remember names most of the time anyway. I feel like all their characters are pretty distinct. Oh, didn't you point out that the glasses girl, her little yellow cardigan was a callback to the original suits? Was that what you were saying? You just
blue?
No, her yellow cardigan. Didn't you like point that out? They were like walking through a hallway, and you made a reaction. I was like, "What?" And you said something about like the original suits.
I know she wears like the blue jacket at one point. That's a major callback to the original series.
Okay, maybe it was that. I just know she usually wore like a white, like shirt, like blouse with like a yellow cardigan over it. That maybe looked kind of like the suits. Anyway, but there's the other guy, and during the big finale where it's like, well, looks like the human race is about to go extinct. So spoiler there, obviously, but yeah, the big moment of like, they're like, there's nothing we can do. Like, everything is hopeless. And the guy is kind of, makes a little comment, walks out of the room, but you see him like sit on a staircase and like, kind of hit his hand against the rail, and you can tell like despair has set in. And then the government, certain people know, like, okay, this is what's happening. They're like, we're not going to tell anyone because there's nothing we can do. Let's let everyone just continue living their life until it suddenly comes to an end. And so they're like, well, but so the one girl, the glasses girl, she's still working. She's like, she hasn't given up hope. The guy that has given into despair comes in, and he's obviously like drunk or like he's given up. But then she...
he's drunk because the subtitles were sure to let you know that the can that he was opening said alcohol on it. So he wasn't drunk, he was aiming to get there.
Yeah, he wasn't like fully drunk.
He just had to go to Lawson's
first.
He
seemed like he had already had some, but...
He had to go to Lawson's.
It was the dynamic of hope and despair. And the girl was like, because Ultraman had tried to attack the thing that was about to wipe everything out. And
we're in spoiler mode now.
Yeah, we're
in spoiler mode, so if you're still here... We'll give you. I'll give you.
Wait, let me finish my thought. And then we'll catch up. But so dynamics of like hope and despair, and the glasses girl is like pushes the thumb drive that Ultraman had left, and the guy like picks it up and like plugs it in, and it's like, oh, it's what was it like the form? It was like some sort of knowledge where Ultraman was like,
it was the formula
sorry to accelerate you guys.
The beta capsule.
Sorry to accelerate you guys, but here's this, be humans and like do something with it. Like, I'm not just gonna hand it all to you, but like, here's the formula, figure it out. And so then the guy gets his hope back and like is dives into all the calculations, all this stuff, in the great moment where it's like he's got one of those virtual like the VR headset on, and they're sitting in a room. This is a great shot because he's sitting in a room, he's sitting in a chair, he's having all these like complex, He's sitting in a chair, the other two are sitting behind him, and from there's a great camera angle where it's like looking at the room, and there's like a bunch of models or whatever stuff, kind of on a desk sort of, far in front of him in the room, and he's sitting in a chair just like waving his hands around and like talking to people, but all you see is him and the VR headset and the people behind him, and the people behind him are like, so this is a meeting of like all the greatest minds in the world, but man, it sure looks weird from this angle. Anyway, but I like that it's like the hope and the despair, and then when he gets his purpose of like there's still hope, and then he rises to the occasion.
Yeah, so we're in spoiler mode now. So
go for it.
Zeton, the world destroying weapon. That was yeah. So it was really interesting how they used all the characters. Was it Naranga and Gabora are both well done. Their models look cool. They mostly they don't talk, so they're mostly there for Ultraman to fight, show off his powers, and start to establish his relationship with the humans.
When he turned around and winked, at least he did in my head.
You're seeing things.
I gotta insert my well, I don't know. Did you feel like there was any romantic tension or buddy tension? I feel like she was crushing a little bit, just a little bit. But like, I mean, not anything. I don't know. I feel like there's Ultramans. Are there like
There was a little bit of that going on near the end of Ultra 7 too.
yeah,
So
yeah, a little bit. So nothing out like that was just like, oh no, they threw in a random
they didn't
like
even kiss. Spoiler alert: there's no kissing in this book.
yeah, yeah.
It's not a kissing book.
It's not a kissing book. Which yeah, it would have been weird to throw that
Yeah.
in, but they had a great. I feel like it was a great kind of, but they're buddies because she kept. It was great too because when Ultraman like becomes bonds with the human and then he like comes into work and he's like the typical alien like how do you do fellow humanoids, and her teasing manner is actually helping him like figure out like how humans interact.
But Shinji was apparently already such a kept to himself stoic personality that like
It fit.
nobody noticed that he was an alien.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was interesting was how they handled the Ultraman host relationship because it was kind of like splitting the difference between Ultraman and Ultra 7. Where in Ultra 7 it's literally just Ultra 7 wearing a human disguised as Dan Moriboshi, the Planet Man Dan.
Mm.
Whereas in original Ultraman, it's pretty clear from episode 1 that like when Hayata is not transformed into Ultraman, it's Hayata that you're talking to that is doing everything, and he's only Ultraman when he transforms. And this one, it's like after Shinji dies, the first couple times it's obviously Ultraman trying to fit in, where he's asking like, "What do you mean by that?" And doesn't realize he should bring his coworkers coffee and stuff. And so for a while, you're like, "Well, shoot, is just straight up like Shinji died?" And Ultraman is pulling an Ultra 7 and just disguising himself as this dead person. But then it becomes revealed later on, no, Shinji's still alive in some capacity tied to Ultraman and is able to like influence or at least like communicate with Ultraman, like when he's a Kai with Mephiles, and yeah, is when he's like, now the human inside me is saying, "I'm gonna fight."
So it's like yeah, he's breaking what the like light laws or whatever from like his home planet, but at the same time he's like he's not just him anymore, like he's now you know
I love how
part.
lawyerly he gets with rearing the line of light's like prime directive, where he's like, all right, well, first off, when Mephiles tries to rules lawyer him into doing nothing, he's just straight up like, I'm gonna stop you with brute force if I have to. I was like, yes, just the like, well, that's very interesting, but brrr.
Oh man, that first scene where like I've never seen such a dramatic like where he does the arm cross thing in the first fight. I mean they started off with a lot of action.
I mean, there's some great dry humor too, where he's like, "All right, tell us everything you know about Ultraman." All right, well, he's powered by Specium 133. Cool. How does he do this? Specium 133. What about this? Specium 133. How does he do this?
Why is
All
he
right,
here?
guys, you're not gonna believe this, but the answer is Specium 133.
Oh, okay. So why is he here? No comment.
Not allowed to tell you.
Okay, let's see. Let's start at the beginning now that we're in spoilers. Let's see.
All right, so Gomez showing up and being the redesign of the Shin Godzilla suit was awesome. That was cool.
Mm.
Oh, the whole opening too, where they recreate like the that you know what I'm talking
Oh yeah, the crackly yeah, yeah. Well, at the very beginning they showed like the original line. Okay. Oh wait, no, that was just before the interview.
The interview with
Okay.
Shinji Higuchi.
Oh, I got excited. But yeah, the way they recreated the opening where it's like what someone had a painting and then like swirled it, but then they reversed it and that was like the opening.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really cool thing, and so they bumped that up a few notches and it looked really great. So I think an opening.
Oh yeah, so it said the reason it said Shin Godzilla is that in the original opening it said Ultra Q, which was the previous series. But in this case, there was no Shin Ultra Q, but there was Shin Godzilla. That's what's like Godzilla.
And then it's like, man, why is Japan the one that's the okay? Let's touch on the political humor and all the funny moments where it's like, man, Japan is apparently the only place these things show up. And it's like, what was it? I feel like a lot of it I kind of missed. It was hard to like catch all of it, but like just sentiment of like,
nice...
now we're here and we got to buy all this stuff from all these other countries.
Nice
okay, fine, US, I'll pay you to
GA.
bomb these guys, but oh, can you get them to like, oh, what was the comment after the bombing that didn't work? It's like, go put it
6 months to,
or put it on someone else's bill.
Oh yeah, bill the Ministry of Defense for that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. What was the? Oh, okay. So when they are the team is like kind of arrested, but kind of put under protection, but they're like trying to figure out how to like get them back to their jobs without like, you know, backlash or political stuff of like wanting to like keep them arrested. And when the two guys are talking, and the conversation, how did it go? It was like, okay, what was it? What was it they said?
What if we just said they were being coerced by Ultraman?
Yeah, that sounds like it'll work. That's like literally like it was a great little interaction. There's many funny like moments or like, you know.
Oh, the was it the Minister of something or other just makes up the monster names on a whim. That's how they get named. It's just some bureaucrat that's like, cool, we'll call it this.
Yeah. Or it's like gosh, what was another moment? Where it's like, yeah, like, oh, something got approved. Wow, that moved fast. Or no, it was, oh, that moved fast. It must be the alien that had taken over the government. Oh man, that too felt like such a, you know, the Ultraman, like, you know, alien coming in and like just like showing up and talking to them, and then the other one that was wearing like a skin suit, you know, looked like a human, because it's like, okay, that's, if you're doing special effects, it's easy to just have just everyone as actors until like the very end, and then do all the special effects makeup and stuff.
I love with Zarab, I love how they kept his ridiculous like trench coat and hat disguise.
That looked great, and his design was neat, where it's like he was like not hollow, like he was just a front.
Yeah, literally.
That's very alien and very cool.
Also, something cool you can do with CGI that you can't really do with the suit.
That looked really cool.
Yeah,
I like the trench coat and everything was really funny.
Oh yeah, all the beam and attack effects were super cool.
Gosh, too. I feel like I felt for them when Zarg, was it Zarg?
Zarab.
When Zarab shows up and his presence like blows out all their, you know, super secret computer stuff, and they're like, our data, no! And I'm like, you could feel the pain. You could feel the pain in the room, like, curse you, whoever, you know, making us like keep this on closed circus, and whoever's did this, I'm gonna. And then they like beeped it. I don't know what she said, and the other guy was just like, I had a funny. Anyway, the guy like the Zarb or wherever like returned it all, and then they all ran back to their computer. I'm like, oh man, like you could feel the pain of like all our data. Oh, it was really like
so there's a Rob
clever how Ultraman setting up the pieces for his rescue. Especially because like up to that point he seemed kind of disconnected from everyone, kind of just doing his own thing, and then somehow he like put all the pieces in place for him to be able to like be freed.
Yeah, both because Shinji's past job and then Ultraman himself also being a warrior, like he knows this isn't his first rodeo. That was actually this Rob was interesting. He was security force. Shinji was like Japanese law enforcement security.
Oh, okay. What was it? Didn't his name start with a K?
Shinji Kanigawa.
Okay, Kanigawa. That's what I was thinking.
It's Crab River. I didn't pay attention to the kanji.
anyway, sorry.
But the Zarab episode is probably one that's almost replayed the most, like beat for beat. And man, they chose the right moment to debut the classical fight music. He pops out of the building to fight him. That was great. I wanted to jump up on
the it's like how I felt when forever ago when we watched King of the Monsters, and that was such a good soundtrack, and so whenever they brought in that music, I was like bouncing. I loved it so much. Can someone make a cut of that movie where it's only monsters? We cut out the family and all the humans except for the scientist guy.
Oh, the other interesting thing with the Rob fight is that it also like had the like kind of abrupt Ultraman fight ending where he's just like, and then he breaks out his special weapon and that was one of the things that makes it like the anti-Marvel movie, like anti-modern movie to me, is that like there's certain action conventions that have become established and like, kind of like build tension towards the villain's final defeat. And this one's stuck with the pacing more of classic Ultraman, where it's like at a certain point, like the episode's got to end, the fight's got to end. So it's just like, all right, here's my special attack.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
No fanfare, no one-liners, no last words. Just
and then fly off into
cuts
space.
them in half.
And they did the flying right.
Yes.
Yo, baby, agreed.
Yes,
Sorry.
they had one fight where he flew a monster into space to blow it up.
And well, see, what was the one we were watching where it's more CGI, and I'm like, he's flying. Like, I didn't like how he was flying because you could see he was like moving. I need just like the action figure that's on a string flying. That's what I need. That's what makes sense. And that's what they did, even with the CGI. Is he looked like a stiff little model flying through the air. And then also when he like spun in a circle in the first fight, where it's like he's so just stiff and he just spins in a circle like an action figure spinning, and then like kicks and then it just boops the monster and it flies back, and
it just comes down weightless, ults, stops, and then just starts spinning himself. And what I like about that is that it looks uncanny, but it's also like if he had all those powers, like it would look weird to see something act like that in real life.
Yeah,
but it was still just like
I like how his suit turns green. Like he's silver, and then he bonds with the guy, and then he's got the red on it. But that red turns green when his energy's running out.
Oh, that was a fun lampshade hanging too. When we don't even know if he's wearing clothes or not.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
That was what I liked about Ultraman the Next, is how they leaned into like the maybe that's just what their bodies look like thing by giving them like visible like muscle sinew and stuff.
That was a good fight. That was a crazy monster. That was a great opening with like a super kind of crazy monster. Like that design was kind of out there, but really cool, especially when the little drill part opened up.
Yeah, that was cool. Like
that was so cool.
I knew that was coming because I'd seen Ultraman, but like I was like, this looks cool.
Yeah.
Again, doing things with the fights that are really hard to do with suits. So here's something somewhat controversial. I'm still not sure how I feel about it myself.
Okay.
I think ultimately it was a good call for the movie, but it still bugs me a little. Ultraman doesn't talk. Like there's no schwash, there's no like grunts or anything when he fights. And that's something that I missed, because I'm like, I like when he does that, but I think part of that is because it partly humanizes the character, and so it's more uncanny if he's like totally silent.
I didn't even like. Well, yeah, I didn't notice that there wasn't that. I don't know. I feel like the movie was fine without it.
I think it served the uncanny feeling they were going for, but I really wanted him to be like, "Shwash."
That's true. Yeah, I didn't even realize that, though. I'm not quite as like. I don't know. I do love the Ultraman, but you're a little more versed in it all, I guess. Okay, let's see. Other spoily parts.
Mephilus's plot was handled well, because they maintain they like it's still the Mephilus from the TV show. They're reworking the storyline to serve their story.
So what was the original one?
So that's the one where he basically like he wants to take over the planet, but like his rule book is like he doesn't like violence. Like he really doesn't like violence, and so it's that plot where he makes Fuji giant, if they made a Asami giant, and then
I know that was the plot in this movie.
No, so that was the plot in episode 2.
Did I not see that one?
Oh, you did, because he like takes the kid and he's basically like, all right, kid.
The moment. Okay, hang on a second.
Give me the planet.
Oh, that's right. Okay, the moment where in this one where he makes the girl big, and then the girl recovers, and then the internet has looted her, and she's freaking out, and she's like, no! And then the alien comes back like, oh, I am sorry about this. I did not realize that humans would resort to their I should have realized humans would do this. And I was just like, oh, she became a meme, and the internet got a hold of her now. And so he makes it all, like, all the pictures disappear, but, she's like the giant lady walking around town. I'm like, oh, no, internet, no. I can only imagine, poor girl. Because, I don't know how she got in that situation, like, because he just like snagged her, like blew her up.
The beta box.
And then what's really weird about that is like not only were they like blown up, she was blown up to like giant size, but like when she elbows the building, and then collapses and stuff, and it's like she's like indestructible, like her clothes, her hair, like crazy. And so then then that's the thing where it's like they were like, oh no, we gotta destroy this before other people realize, other people in the galaxy are like, we can groom, we can groom the humans into titans.
Yeah, because it's like mankind is super aggressive and breeds relatively quickly compared to other alien races. So if you just find a way to solve the scaling issue, it's like you got a planet full of bioweapons. Just
I do
waiting to
love when
happen.
they were gonna pass over the what's it called,
The beta box.
the beta box, and then Ultraman just like as it's happening like reaches out of the little portal and like snags it.
That was fun too, where he's like again, like I'm playing by the rules. I'm not saying you can't give it to them. I'm just gonna give it to them. I'm gonna give it to my humans, not your humans.
Throw it into the helicopter. Nice catch.
Which is
And
also
then a
cool
nice
that
nice standoff.
he's not the prime minister unless somebody was the prime minister in Shin Godzilla. The older gentleman with the glasses, like Breathless is like, oh, I'm so glad you picked a site to hand it off in view of all of the other countries' satellites.
Yeah, that part was funny. That was really funny. Yeah, he was a good villain character. And he's just like, I'm going to take this for myself. You know,
Also,
for the cheap price of me being your overlord.
That's the thing. Like it fit with his like just the feeling, like leaning of the characters. He's like, I don't want to rule mankind. Like you guys, your laws won't change at all. Nothing will change. All you have to do is call me God, basically. Like I don't want anything else. Just want you to worship me.
I just want to possess you, your mind. That was a good fight scene too, especially the moment where they were like fighting and grappling, and they stand back and they're still, and at the same time like shoot their beam. But then he's after the he's what Zolfi in the background. He's like, okay, never mind, peace out. This is too much drama.
Well, he knew
he is non-confrontational, isn't he?
He knew what Zolfi was about to do.
Yeah,
that's why he was like, oh, this planet's worthless to me now. Okay, so that was an interesting decision they made. Was in order to really drive home like how unique it is that Ultraman cares about mankind, not as a weapon to be exploited or as a threat, but it's just like these human life
these little humans
has value. Mankind sacrifices for each other. Like these mankind is good. And so making Zoffi and really by extension like the rest of the Land of Light, kind of like, I mean, they were bad guys. They were gonna wipe out an entire star system.
They were like, look, these
threat.
are like, this is a bomb waiting to happen. Once like the cat's out of the bag, everyone's gonna realize what potential the humans have. So we better like sweep this under the rug, like, eliminate it so that people don't take advantage and like use it for their own ends.
So making Zeton a weapon created by the Land of Light was an interesting twist on the character, basically making him a Death Star, which was also cool because then it wasn't just like, we'd already gotten a couple fights against monsters the same size as Ultraman, so then giving him something massive. That was one of the shots where I was like, this is what,
like from Earth you could see it. You could see it like up in the sky, like this giant thing, and yeah, Ultraman was tiny compared to it. What was the other thing I was gonna say? I was gonna say, Sophie, blowing up the planet. It'll come back to me.
I love that they kept that line in there, like, Ultraman, have you become so fond of humans from the original show? Because the way they worked it, they were still able to bring Zoffi in for the final. Zoffi shows up in the original after Zeton kills Ultraman, and like showing how much of a love letter this film is to the original series. Like they kept all the same like weird like camera angles and zooms for the conversations between the Ultras and like the limbo when he's dead.
Yeah, or even in the forest where it's like it's like at first I thought like Sophie was like floating up, just like staring down at the tree. I don't know,
because that's how they shot it back then. Was like there's just like, I mean, shoot.
Yeah.
One in the original one, Ultraman revives Hada. He literally like has the beta capsule and he just he doesn't place it on Hada. He just drops it and it falls on him. So they kept all the interesting and unique cinematography of the original.
So much cool cinematography that they added too, of just like
all the like weird swirly backgrounds were recreated with swirly backgrounds. But yeah, writing it so that Zombie still shows up with that was interesting. Uh, I'm kind of glad they're doing that in this like standalone film and not making that like the general policy of the Land of Light from the original. So I'm glad because they're much more. Yeah, the Land of Light it's all much more heroic in the original. Like
Yeah.
Ultraman shows up on Earth not because he's breaking rules, because he was out on patrol chasing a space criminal. So it's an interesting twist, and it definitely serves to heighten and enhance the theme of this film. But I'm glad that that interpretation is contained to this film. Oh, but yeah, the when he goes up against that's on the first time, and it's just this massive Death Star against tiny Ultraman. Like those shots where I was like, this is the kind of space opera goodness.
Yeah, that felt very space opera.
Was made for to show is like
these super dramatic, like huge, like world-stopping things. Oh, the insignificance of humans. So where it's like, okay, we're willing to just basically like blow up this star system. Where it's like, and then Ultraman's like, to the humans, like this is all there is. Like that's how tiny and like backwater we are. Is like, to the rest of the galaxy, there's so much. It's like, oh, that's just one little pinpoint. Where it's like to us, this is all we know. Like we haven't been able to like find much beyond it. So fascinating.
And the solution to defeating Zedon is definitely one where there's like we're gonna take the end of Shin Godzilla and speed it up. Where it's like they came up with a plan real quick.
And it's like, okay, this is what humans are good at. And it's like, Ultraman was like, sorry to have to kind of push you guys like quicker than you would have, but yeah, humans rising to the occasion.
And they used the Mephiles plot to foreshadow the possibility of the plan working when they show how the beta capsule can be used to basically like reach through dimension.
That was really cool.
Props to the helicopter pilot.
Yeah.
Can't imagine that was fun to have something thrown at your aircraft like that. Oh yeah, I'd mentioned on Twitter how I wish there had been an Ultraman series done where all of the sci-fi vehicles were more grounded looking and based off like Cold War aircraft. And I didn't quite get that here because we don't use the Prowler or the Aardvark anymore. But it was all actual military hardware, which was
the threatening part. When you're done with that thought.
It kept the film grounded, and I think it was good when you're trying to contrast it with the uncanniness and strangeness of the aliens to just have like normal military hardware. Yeah, because like in the super
Space Force
VTOLs and everything.
Yeah, like the Space Force where they can just throw aircraft out like candy. Especially when it was the Ultra 7. Is it Ultra 7 or
Ultraman Ace is the one
that's so bad. They're constantly jumping out of the aircraft and the aircraft crashing. That series really likes fire. Like a lot. The intimidation part where Ultraman is shown back up into the building to talk with his team, and then government people come in like, hey, like understand our position, like the rest of the world's looking at us and like, oh, you can't control this guy, and so we kind of need you to just like come along with us and do what we say or stuff. And then he's resisting. It's like, well, I gotta. You want me to guarantee the safety of your friends in here? And then there's the SWAT team outside, and then the exchange back and forth of Ultraman being like,
Ultraman's like, let me make sure you understand my position.
Yeah.
Here.
He had a good line. What was the line?
Also,
intimidation is like a terrible thing for a human to do, or what was it?
Right. And so then they continue to intimidate, and he's like, all right, you want to play games? If you threaten my friends, I'll wipe the planet out myself. And they're like, who's intimidating now? And his response is great, which is, no, I'm just negotiating on an even playing field now.
Yeah.
Like, enemy sets the rules of engagement. I'm not gonna let you. It was a good call to make it more like Dan, where it's Ultraman speaking for a lot of the film, because it lets you like get insight into his character, and I love how he's like, I know what the rules are, and I know how to get around them, and when I'm like, don't think that you're going to use the rules to bind me and ignore them yourselves. Like, I know how this game is played.
That's very much how the Ultraman's character was in this. Like, in so many of the conversations with the people, like Sophie and the bad guy and the government
This is great because it's like if you, yeah, watching the original, you get Aya's characterization and you get some of Ultraman's. So using this as an opportunity to like really dive into Ultraman's characterization was a good call. Yeah, it's a good character.
Yeah, solid characters, solid acting, cinematography, cool monsters, cool CGI, cool themes. Uh, I still think the one girl was crushing.
I think the filmmakers probably wanted you to think that.
It was one-sided, but still.
I don't know. I mean, it did smell her.
That part, oh gosh, that was hilarious. That was so funny. It was so awkward. It was so
I
great.
don't even think that was from the original either. That was just some of the filmmakers were like, this is something. I mean, it's absolutely something they would have used in the.
It was so funny. It was so funny.
Yeah, they were unafraid to just.
She was definitely very
absurdity
attached
of the original, and play it with a straight face.
Yeah, it was cute because it's like, you know, when she is able to like come save him, and you know she's kind of upset, like, well, you know, I forget what she was saying, but like, why would you do this or that? And then he says something about like, buddy, like he trusted her, or
Oh
yeah, that's why he left
his partner. I don't know if he actually says the word buddy.
No,
to
he
her.
says buddy. It's all about buddies.
Buddy.
They're buddies. But the part where in the very first fight and like he defeats it and lifts it up out to jump into space and he kind of looks over his shoulder and I'm like, he totally winked at her. He didn't, but in my head he did.
I thought that was cool. Watch this.
I'm like, get your girl off of me. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. Romance. This show isn't really a show for romance. It's like, I feel like a little bit of certain tension is okay. Like the one-sided crush, maybe.
Murray.
Maybe I don't know. Not even a crush. I don't know. Like the show's about monsters fighting, but it's kind of cute having her be like,
"From the land of light to steal your girl."
Yep.
Man,
reading into it too much, but I think it was cute.
Off Earth women as brides. Do what I want, Zoffy.
I don't even think that like she. Well, from the beginning, she was really fascinated by Ultraman just as a concept when she came on the team. So it was probably not even like crush, just like you know, admiration way. She was very sad when they were like hoping he wasn't dead.
Oh yeah, that was an interesting place to end the film. It was just like, all right, he's back, and boom, here you go.
Yeah, well, it's established. It's like okay, because like not Dan, Shinji.
Yeah.
No, is it Shinji?
It's Shinji.
That's also the other character, isn't it? Shinji, get in the robot. Shinji, turn into Ultraman. That's why I kept being confused that you were saying Shinji. I'm like, wait a second. Anyway, like his body sits in the forest for a while, and then they make it disappear. I don't know, but yeah, it's established. It's like okay, I guess you know Ultraman's kind of presence or spirit was like dominating, and so he was relinquishing that. But you know, gonna give the guy the ability to still transform and defend, and probably whatever memories and skills were needed for it. So, seems like a fine ending place.
Implies an interesting alternate version of the Ultraman series follows, in which everyone knows who he is at this point.
I know that's really interesting too. Yeah, I think this does work probably best as its own contained thing. Like, it'd be a much different series if it was a series.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's like a good way to do a standalone Ultraman film.
Play with some like other concepts and ideas.
Play with the tropes, play with the ideas.
Play with the monsters.
Yes, play with them all.
Action figures.
I see why they didn't. Why they didn't bring Bolton back for this one now though.
Bolton? Who's Bolton?
The lobster guy.
We have an action figure of that one.
Yeah.
But
he would not have really contributed.
You need to pull up what the hollow guy
Zarab,
his original, because I feel like I recognize his design.
That was one of the only 3 episodes I had to watch as a kid from my dad's taped
do we have an action figure of him too, don't we?
Zarab?
Yeah.
No. My family's got one back home.
Okay.
It was one of the 3 episodes we had on tape as a kid, so I know that alien very well.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm fading a bit.
Oh yeah, the effect of his beams, weapons. Yeah, all the beam weapon effects.
That's
really
the other
cool.
cool thing you
Really
can do with
fun.
special effects is all the energy and beam weapons. Like the electricity in the first fight,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. Especially when it's like what's sparking in the air. I think after Ultraman like absorbs stuff or something.
Yeah, I love when they get artistic with the beam weapon effects. That's why I like Heisei Godzilla series, even though a lot of people complain about the beam spam. I'm like, but it looks really cool, and the artists were having fun.
Gotta have fun. Ooh, okay, let's see what else.
Well, we've covered quite a bit of it.
I think so, yeah.
Let's see.
Already an hour in at least.
Yeah.
Let's see.
The
Man, the
final
song
thought-
at the
yeah,
end
you
was
like
so
the end
good.
credit song.
I need that song. That was so good, especially the lyrics. I was like, oh, it's so pretty. Very thematic for the movie.
Also, oh yeah. So like, yeah. So the soundtrack, like using the original theme for the Zrob fight, like in the original, that was awesome. Breaking out like that metal chanting for the fight with Mephilos,
Yeah.
and then with Zeton and using the Zeton effect, like using all the original sound effects and music, was great. But that was one of the things where I'm like, I hope we get some original music film too. And, oh, don't worry, I've got you. How about this?
Gotcha, fam. Joe Baby did very well. I think during the like before the movie started, he was just chilling, and then the movie was starting. I'm like, oh crap, I should have started bouncing him to sleep during the opening, like before it started and all the big noises started. I was able to like bounce him to sleep in the carrier, and then he slept pretty well. Maybe a few more bounces here. So was able to sit and chill, and Joe Baby slept. So woo, success.
Right, well, yeah, hey, it's been about an hour. That's good enough for Geek Gab. About a movie. No, they talk about like 3 movies in an hour, but they try to avoid spoilers. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Very enjoyable. You were so excited. It was
tempted to
cute.
go
You
see
were
it
so
again.
excited.
I'm tempted to go see it again with
I know there's certain somebody. Oh, it is so good.
drag him to, because yeah, he'd be the perfect like.
He would be
you
the
have no
perfect
clue
like
what's going on.
test
So
subject.
just
Yes.
tell me what you think.
You need to drag him along. Yes.
Yeah, the only thing that I didn't really like was weird that he didn't talk, but it was probably for the best. Oh, the shaky cam. I got a little slight headache from some of the shaky cam shots. Like, yeah, we have a couple conventional shots where the camera's standing still.
because like most.
It's a very frenetic pace of cuts between shots, and then a lot of the shots are shaky cam. So if you do get motion sick from that kind of stuff, you might get a little of that. Nephiloff's Slender Man look thing.
I thought he looked like an emo boy.
Oh, I meant more the monster itself.
Yeah, I think he looked like an emo boy. Whereas like a normal suit would have looked more kind of short and bulky compared to the CGI model. CGI model looked more like dark and lanky. Emo boy.
Yeah. I should do a stream either drawing or prompting Ultraman. I feel like I'd have to draw it though, because I trust the prompting to really capture those aspects of the way that an actual artist can. There you go, Gajinka artists. You're safe. An AI doesn't know how to properly interpret a giant terrifying monster as a cute girl yet.
I would be afraid of having to like slog through whatever horrors the AI comes up with to get something decent enough. Judging from the Clavians that I did trying to do the bread characters.
Oh yeah, he just ran into some crazy stuff. I rather like the art I generated for tonight.
Yeah.
You just now notice?
No, I noticed it before. I'm just like, okay, I see, Miliardo. I see. I see. I like my bow though. My bow's on my hair though.
Oh, that's because you were wearing a helmet.
Oh, it slipped down.
Yeah.
I see. Anyways.
Right. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. It was a lot of fun. Thank you to all watching the VOD later. drop your thoughts on the film in the comments below. I don't know if YouTube lets you mark spoiler tags, but I figure if you go seeking this thing out afterwards, you've probably already seen the film, so feel free to
If you haven't seen
have
it yet,
spoiler
go see
discussions
it.
in the comments.
Enjoy it. It's very fun. Good movie. Good time.
Super Rad Productions, if you're watching this, please release a Blu-ray in the US soon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we need that. Please. We need that. I didn't even think that, like, it wouldn't be over here.
Yeah, we're gonna watch it again.
Maybe I have to go with you tomorrow. Maybe this, I don't know. The only thing is, like, if it's, the theater is kind of loud for, like, the doe kid to try and come. He would like the monsters, I think.
He would.
But would he like them too much and then start trying to attack everyone as a monster?
Start a brawl in the theater.
As much as he already starts too many fights. All right. Well, thank you.
Let's see. Makes me want to get into. Oh yeah. So there's never lung74125 _. This is the time to get into Ultraman because I mean, shoot, you're on YouTube now. Oh no, I can't redirect, but I can link here. Let me find you a link. Pretty sure the very first episode is free on YouTube. Pretty sure there's a couple of episodes free on YouTube.
If you like any sort of kaiju stuff, where guys in rubber suits wrestling, you like that genre when they're monsters, I
don't have to pronounce the underscore. You can just be lung74125, previously known as lung74125 _.
Yeah, I was like knew nothing about this genre when it came to like, Zillas and Ultramans. Though I haven't gotten into Kamen Rider yet. But I've thoroughly gotten into it now, and it's very fun. It's a fun genre.
There's a link to Ultra Operation #1, and actually,
it's a pretty comfy show, Ultraman.
It's nice and filling. Like it was made before shows were meant to be binged. It was meant to be like you get one shot at watching this once a week, reruns. Like we're gonna make your 30 minutes worth it. But original Ultraman is great. Ultra Q is not necessary to understand Ultraman, but if you like anything like Outer Limits or Twilight Zone you will like Ultra Q. Then Ultraman is good.
Yeah, that one was kind of Twilight Zone-y. I feel like Ultra 7 might be my favorite. I'm not sure why exactly. Maybe I just really enjoyed like Dan's character.
Ultra 7 is the series that follows Ultraman. It is not the 7th in the series, which is what I thought as a kid. He's called that because he's the seventh.
So many Ultramans.
The
There's a ridiculous number of Ultramans. Like listening to that like quiz at the beginning, like there's so many.
Oh, Marilyn, welcome. Yes, they are
made in a time when people really cared, and like there weren't just a set formula you could easily plug into. It was the day of like paving your own path and like passion.
Oh, so I'll have to look more for this on the rewatch. I couldn't tell throughout the film if it was just the lighting and angles or if they were slightly changing Ultraman's model each time he appeared. Because there were some shots where it really looks like the original mask that terrified Hideaki Anno as a kid. Because the costume would get damaged and went through several iterations during the course of the original show. And so the original Ultraman face is kind of creepy looking and then gets a little more friendlier looking as the show goes on. And there were some shots where I'm like, I feel like they're trying to like look like the different
because they did
masks.
Scan the original.
Yes, the original suit actor been through like 90 something or other, maybe late 80 something. Anyway, they brought him in. He didn't do the mocap, but they scanned him to get the proportions right. For Ultraman, and then I think it was the guy that did the mocap had a connection to past Ultraman as well.
I loved in the little interview at the beginning because they also interviewed the actor that played Ultraman, and the actor was like, "Yes, my dad worked like on set.
He was production on Ultraman Ace.
And so he was production on Ultraman Ace. So of course I had action figures. I love that was a given.
Tons of passion. They did the best with what they had and made it work. Very much so. It was, shoot, to get Ultra Q got made because Subaraya really wanted a optical camera that was really expensive. So he pitched the show to, I think it was a pharmaceutical company. He was like, if you buy me an optical camera, I will make a really cool TV show for you. And they're like, that sounds like a good deal.
Hmm. And yeah, all the cool practical effects and suits, and especially the like sets, the like fighting and all that. Really cool stuff.
My recommended must watch for Ultraman is Ultraman because it's the original, Ultra 7 because when it's good, it's really good, and then Return of Ultraman, which is good, but also Return of
Oh, we probably
Ultraman.
should move this spoiler thing to like non-spoilers.
I mean, people probably aren't gonna
Well,
hop
if
back
someone's
into
like
this
clicking through
one.
the VOD, I want to skip to the end. Out of spoiler mode, maybe? Eh.
Nah,
We can put
we
a
could still talk
timestamp.
about spoilers.
Okay.
But where was it? Oh yeah, Return of Ultraman. One, good. Two, Return of Ultraman is the one that a lot of like Hideaki Anno watched it as a kid. Return of Ultraman was made later enough that you see tons of influences from it popping up in everything. I was chatting about this on Twitter the other day, like just something even like Pokemon, like why is Nidoran a poison rabbit? And it's like, well, it has to evolve into Nidoking, and Nidoking is based off a Return of Ultraman monster that was a burrowing monster that shot poisonous gas. So that's why you got a poison horned rabbit in Pokemon, is because the guy watched Return of Ultraman as a kid and was like, I like that monster.
Oh, and the director, well, I guess he was the writer. Um, he did like a film in school, fan film.
Oh yeah, executive producer Hideaki Anno did his Return of Ultraman episode, which I wonder if that's on YouTube
Yeah,
still.
he was a big fan, and so in college, like he made a little short film, his own little Ultraman, and played Ultraman.
There are oh yeah, here we go.
He does a good job of it.
Ron, there's I mean shoot, Pokemon is basically an Ultraman spinoff. Like the rabbit hole goes pretty deep. Like the very concept of Pokemon is ripped straight out of the first episode of Ultra 7. I mean shoot, Dark is weak to Bug because of Kamen Rider. Like Pokemon is essentially an Ultraman spinoff, and the more you watch Ultraman, more of that will come out. There's a link to Hideaki Anno's Return of Ultraman fan film where, oh man, what I love about this is like they didn't have a mask, so it's just Hideaki Anno's face, and he manages to like keep a straight face that looks like very Ultraman like during his whole fight, and I love his jacket.
That's one of the things I like about the Ultraman is like they're these sort of stoic martial artist characters, and they don't really talk a whole lot. Like they, in most of the original ones we've watched, they kind of like grunt to make stuff. But it's like their face doesn't change, and so their expression is through their body movements, which is why you see so many like the Ultramans are very like deliberate with their movements, especially like outside of fighting. It's very like crisp, precise movement. Not like a robot, but like I don't know. Deliberate, that's the word.
Movement.
Yeah, deliberate movement that shows their personality somehow. Go down the rabbit hole, it's fun.
Yes.
There's cookies at
fall
the
down
end.
the rabbit hole. Most of it is all free to watch online now. And oh shoot, what's that website? I mean, most of the shows are out on Blu-ray and DVD at this point too. And hang on,
Very comfy episodes, like or it's a very comfy show, and it's nice bite size. I very much enjoy the like 20-minute or so format because then you can watch a couple or just watch one or two.
I don't know if I would call it comfy though. Sometimes it's a gut punch.
That's true.
There's some episodes that are gut punch.
I feel like a lot of them are comfy.
Oh yeah, deepdiscount.com, another non-sponsor of the channel, but they could be. Deepdiscount.com. That was how I got Ultraman Tiga Complete Series for like $8. So the series regularly go on sale for very cheap. And are absolutely worth picking up. But I'd say if you only got time for a couple series, Ultraman, Ultra 7, and Return of Ultraman cover like the original, one of the greatest and one of the most influential. So, Aaron, thanks for stopping by at the end here. Everybody watching this, thank you for watching.
Thanks for joining us.
and enjoy the rest of your evenings. This has
Toodaloo.
been FlaVR's Milliardo Beercraft.
And Minna Vanilla. Next time. Stay fresh, my friends.
Take care.